Elena had always believed that one day she would run far away from everything that hurt her. She had imagined it many times as a child, packing a small bag, stepping outside the door, and walking until the world felt safe. But life had kept her trapped for years, tied down by responsibilities, fears, and the constant feeling that she did not have anywhere else to go. Now, at 23, she finally gathered the courage to leave, even if she had no clear plan. She only knew one thing. She could not stay in that place anymore. The morning she left, the sky was gray, as if the clouds understood her heavy heart. She placed her small suitcase in the trunk of her old car, took one last look at the house where she had cried more than she had smiled, and whispered a quiet goodbye. Not to the people inside, but to the version of herself that suffered there. She was driving toward a new beginning, even if she did not know what waited for her. The road stretched long and empty. Fields rolled on both sides like open arms, offering silence she had never experienced before. Elena drove slowly, breathing deeply, letting the fresh air calm her shaky nerves. She felt both scared and hopeful, like someone standing between two worlds, one filled with pain and another that might finally bring peace. After several hours, her car began to make a strange sound, a rattling noise that grew louder each minute. Elena's heart tightened. "Please not now," she whispered, pressing her foot gently on the accelerator. But the car did not listen. It shook harder and then, with a final cough-like noise, came to a stop right in the middle of a dusty countryside road. Her eyes widened in panic. She stepped out and looked around. There were no houses nearby, no shops, no people walking on the road. Just long fields, tall grass swaying in the wind, and a quietness so deep it felt almost unreal. Elena tried calling for help, but the signal was too weak. She placed her phone back in her pocket and took a long breath, trying not to feel defeated. She leaned against the car, letting the warm sun fall on her face. Minutes passed. She felt completely alone, unsure whether she should start walking or wait for someone to pass by. Her thoughts spun in circles. Was this a sign she should go back home? Was she foolish for thinking she could run away? Fear tried to crawl back into her heart, whispering the same old doubts she had heard for years. But then, in the distance, she heard something, a soft, rumbling sound. At first, she thought it was the wind shifting the tall grass, but the noise grew louder. She turned her head and saw a horse trailer attached to a big pickup truck driving slowly toward her. Behind the wheel sat a man wearing a hat, the kind she had only seen in old Western movies. The truck stopped a few feet away. The door opened and the man stepped out. He was tall, wearing faded jeans, dusty boots, and a simple shirt rolled up to his elbows. His hat cast a shadow over his eyes, but even from a distance, Elena could sense a calmness in him. His hands looked rough, like he had spent years working outdoors. He walked toward her with steady, unhurried steps. "You all right, ma'am?" he asked in a warm voice that matched the quiet countryside around them. Elena swallowed, trying to gather her courage. "My car stopped. I don't know what happened." The man nodded and gave her a small, reassuring smile. "Mind if I take a look?" She stepped aside, allowing him to check the engine. He lifted the hood and examined the parts carefully. He didn't rush. He didn't act annoyed. Instead, he worked with patience, as if helping strangers on empty roads was something he had done many times before. After a few minutes, he closed the hood and wiped his hands on a cloth from his truck. "Your engine overheated," he explained. "You'll need a mechanic to fix it. Not safe to drive it like this." Elena felt her stomach twist. She didn't know where the nearest town was. She didn't have money for a tow truck, and she didn't even know where she planned to go next. Her voice trembled slightly when she asked, "Is there a mechanic nearby?" "Closest one is in Willow Creek," he said. "Small town about 20 minutes from here." Her shoulders fell. She felt lost again, like the world was too big and she was too small to move forward. The cowboy noticed her worry and spoke gently. "I can give you a ride there if you want. You'll be safe. Folks around here know me. Name's Cole." There was something honest in the way he spoke. He kept a respectful distance, giving her space to decide. Elena hesitated for a moment, not because she feared him, but because trusting anyone was hard for her. She had spent years learning to survive on her own. Letting someone help felt unfamiliar, almost dangerous to her heart. But she also understood she had no better option, and something inside her whispered that this man meant no harm. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I'd appreciate the ride." Cole nodded, opened the truck door for her, and helped her place her small suitcase in the back. As she stepped inside, she noticed the interior was clean but worn from years of use. The seats smelled faintly of leather and sunlight. It felt unexpectedly comforting. During the drive, Cole didn't ask many questions. He didn't pry into her life or try to make her talk. Instead, he spoke about simple things: the changing season, the horses he cared for, the quiet life in Willow Creek. His calm voice helped her relax, even though her heart was still heavy from the life she had left behind. Elena found herself staring out the window, watching the endless fields pass by. For the first time in a long while, she felt a small sense of peace. There was no shouting, no pressure. No one judging her, just the hum of the truck, the warmth of the sun, and a stranger who treated her with a kindness she wasn't used to. When they reached the town, Cole parked near a small repair shop. "I'll talk to the mechanic for you," he offered. She nodded gratefully. While he spoke to the shop owner, Elena stood outside looking around. Willow Creek was small but charming, with wooden buildings, friendly faces, and a slow, peaceful rhythm. It felt like a place where people healed without even realizing it. Cole returned and told her the mechanic would tow her car shortly and check what needed fixing. "It might take a day or two," he said. "If you need a place to stay or work for a little while, my family runs a ranch not far from here. We always have room and honest work if you're interested." The offer surprised her. She didn't expect someone she met only an hour ago to care about where she would stay, but his eyes showed no hidden intentions, only a simple, honest willingness to help. Elena looked down, feeling emotional in a way she hadn't expected. "I don't want to cause trouble," she murmured. "You're not," Cole replied softly. "Sometimes people just need a fresh start." Those words touched her deeply. She nodded slowly, accepting his offer. It was the first step toward a new life, even if she wasn't fully sure where it would lead. As they drove toward the ranch, Elena felt something she had not felt in years, a small, fragile spark of hope. The ranch came into view as the sun lowered itself across the wide sky, painting everything in soft gold. Elena stared quietly out the window while Cole drove. She had never seen a place so open, so peaceful, so far from city noise and the heavy air of her old life. Long wooden fences stretched across green fields, horses grazed calmly, and a gently winding dirt path led toward a house that looked warm and lived in. Elena felt a mix of nervousness and wonder. She was entering a world she knew nothing about, one where people woke early, worked hard, and lived close to nature. She had spent most of her life trapped inside walls, emotionally and physically tired, but this place felt like fresh air she had never been allowed to breathe before. Cole pulled the truck beside a barn and helped her step out. The evening breeze brushed her face, carrying the smell of hay, earth, and something sweet she couldn't name. She noticed chickens wandering near the fence and a few dogs resting near the porch. Everything felt simple, and yet it felt like the kind of simple she had been needing for years. "My family's inside," Cole said, lifting her suitcase from the truck. "They're good people. Don't worry. They'll make you feel welcome." Elena nodded, though her heart beat a little faster. She wasn't used to meeting new people. Kindness still felt unfamiliar, and being a guest at someone's home made her feel shy. But she reminded herself she had come here to start over, and starting over meant stepping into things she wasn't comfortable with yet. As they walked toward the house, the door opened, and an older woman stepped out. She had warm eyes and a smile that made Elena feel less tense. "You must be Elena," the woman said kindly. "Cole told us what happened. Come in, dear. You must be tired." This was Martha, Cole's mother, a gentle woman with soft hands and a calm voice. Elena instantly felt a sense of comfort from her. Martha took the suitcase from Cole, ignoring his protest, and guided Elena inside. The house was cozy. Wooden walls, handmade quilts, pictures of family moments, and a glowing lamp by the couch made it feel like a place full of stories. Elena felt strangely safe standing there, even though she had only arrived minutes ago. "Sit down, dear," Martha said. "Let me get you something warm to drink." Elena smiled shyly and took a seat on the couch. Cole sat across from her, his hat placed on the table. He looked relaxed, like this place was a part of him, like the walls themselves trusted him. "You okay?" he asked softly. She nodded. "It's just different, but good different." He smiled at her answer. Martha returned with a cup of warm tea and placed it in Elena's hands. "You can stay in the guest room," she said, "and if you want to help around the ranch to keep yourself busy, we'd be happy to have extra hands." Elena felt her chest warm. "I'd like that," she said honestly. "I want to do something useful." Cole nodded approvingly. "We'll start slow. You'll get used to it." Later that night, Elena lay in the small but comfortable guest room. The window looked out at the fields, where the moonlight rested softly on the grass. She felt a strange mix of peace and uncertainty. She had escaped her old life, but she still carried pieces of it inside her. She wondered if she truly deserved a fresh start. Her mind drifted to Cole. The quiet way he spoke, the calm way he helped her, the gentle strength she saw in his rough hands. He seemed like the type of person who did not run away from problems but faced them, something she wished she could learn. The next morning, sunlight gently woke her. She got dressed and went outside, feeling the cool air of dawn. Cole was already working by the barn, lifting hay bales with easy strength. She paused for a moment, watching him. His movements were steady and practiced, the movements of someone who knew this life well. He noticed her and waved her over. "You sleep okay?" "Yes," she replied. "It was peaceful." "Good," he said with a small nod. "I'll show you around." Cole guided her through the ranch. He introduced her to the horses, each with a personality of its own. One was calm and slow, another playful, and a third stared at Elena with curious eyes, as if sensing the quiet sadness she carried. She gently touched its nose, feeling a soft warmth she didn't expect. "You're gentle," Cole said. "Animals can feel that." Elena looked at him, surprised. "I didn't do anything." "That's what I mean," he replied. "Gentleness isn't something you do. It's something you are." Those words stayed with her. Throughout the morning, he taught her small tasks: how to refill water tanks, how to carry feed, how to clean stalls. At first, she struggled. Her arms were not strong, and she often hesitated, unsure if she was doing things correctly. But Cole never raised his voice. He corrected her softly, showed her again if she forgot, and stayed patient every minute. "You'll get the hang of it," he said with a half smile. "No one gets it right the first time." Elena appreciated his calmness. In her old life, mistakes were met with anger. Here, mistakes were part of learning. It felt new and strange, but good. By noon, she was tired but felt accomplished. Cole invited her inside for lunch, where Martha had prepared a simple but delicious meal. As they ate, Martha chatted with her kindly, asking small questions about her day, but not pushing her to share more than she wanted. Cole's younger sister Lily joined them, a cheerful girl with bright eyes who immediately liked Elena. "You can help me with the garden later," Lily said. "It's fun, and you'll love the flowers." Elena smiled, feeling a warmth she hadn't felt in years. She didn't know how long she would stay at this ranch, but she already sensed it was a place that could help her breathe again. That afternoon, Cole showed her how to brush one of the older horses. Elena moved the brush gently across the horse's coat. The horse leaned into her touch, and she felt its steady breathing beneath her hand. "You're good with him," Cole said, watching quietly. "He trusts me," she whispered. Cole's eyes softened. "Sometimes that's enough to start healing." Elena paused, the words sinking deeply. She looked up at him, but he had already turned his gaze toward the field, as if giving her space to feel whatever she needed to feel. As the day went on, Elena began to notice more details about Cole, how he treated every animal with respect, how he greeted every worker by name, how he helped his family without being asked. He was quiet but strong, a man who said little but meant everything he said. By evening, she was exhausted but felt lighter than she had in months. She stood on the porch watching the sun set behind the hills. The sky turned orange and pink, spreading its colors like a promise of new beginnings. Cole stepped onto the porch beside her. "You did good today," he said. "Thank you for teaching me," she replied softly. "You're welcome," he answered. "You're stronger than you think, Elena." She looked at him, the words touching a part of her she always kept hidden. She didn't reply, but something inside her shifted. Something small, something hopeful. When she returned to her room that night, she felt tired in a good way. She lay on the bed thinking about the day, the work, the kindness she had received, and the calm voice of the cowboy who helped her without expecting anything in return. For the first time in a long time, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as broken as she once believed. Days passed, turning into weeks, and Elena slowly settled into life on the ranch. She learned how to feed the horses, clean the stalls, water the garden, and help with small chores around the house. Every morning she woke up to the soft sounds of birds and the distant hum of the fields instead of the arguments and fear that had once filled her days. She worked hard, and by evening her body felt tired, but her heart felt lighter than it had in years. Cole continued teaching her patiently. His quiet presence became something she relied on without even realizing it. He never pried into her past, and she never felt pressured to explain why she had come here. His silence was respectful, and it made her feel safe. Sometimes, during breaks, they sat on the porch drinking cold lemonade while the wind carried the smell of warm earth around them. They didn't always talk, but the quiet moments felt meaningful. But even peaceful places can't erase every shadow. One afternoon, Elena and Lily were planting new flowers in the garden. The sun was bright, and Lily was happily chattering about her school friends and her dream to become a vet someday. Elena smiled softly, enjoying the simple moment. She felt almost normal, almost like a person who belonged somewhere. Then, suddenly, Lily's voice stopped. She looked toward the dirt road leading to the ranch entrance. Elena followed her gaze and felt her heart freeze. A familiar figure stood at the gate, someone from the life she had tried so hard to escape. Her breath caught in her chest. The world around her blurred. Her legs felt weak. She took a small step back, her hands shaking so much that dirt slid from her fingers. She hadn't expected anyone from her old life to find her here. She had left in silence, hoping her absence would be forgotten. But the past, it seemed, was not finished with her. "Elena? Do you know him?" Lily asked softly. Elena couldn't answer. Her throat tightened as fear returned, wrapping around her like cold chains. She felt like she was being pulled back to the pain she had run away from. The man at the gate called her name. His voice wasn't loud, but it made her heart pound painfully. She stumbled backward, accidentally knocking over a small bucket. Lily immediately stepped in front of her protectively, her young face filled with worry. Cole must have heard the noise because he appeared from behind the barn a moment later. When he saw the stranger at the gate and Elena's terrified expression, his eyes hardened, not in anger but in understanding. He walked toward them with steady steps. "It's okay," Cole said gently to Elena, though his eyes remained focused on the man. Elena could barely breathe. Her chest felt tight, her mind filled with memories she had tried so hard to forget. All she wanted was to run inside the house and hide, but her body wouldn't move. The stranger spoke again. "Elena, we need to talk." Cole stepped between them calmly, his voice steady. "If she wants to talk, she will, but you don't get to demand anything from her." Elena felt a rush of gratitude and fear at the same time. She didn't want trouble. She didn't want yelling or fighting. She just wanted distance. She wanted a place where her past couldn't reach her. Cole glanced back at her gently. "Do you want to speak with him?" Her voice came out weak. No, I don't." That was all he needed to hear. "Then you should leave," Cole said firmly to the man. "This isn't your place." The stranger hesitated for a moment, staring at Elena with frustration, but eventually turned around and walked away. Cole waited until he was gone before turning back to Elena. She collapsed to her knees, shaking. Lily rushed to her, placing a hand on her shoulder. Elena tried to hold back tears, but they fell anyway, quiet and heavy, the kind that carried years of fear. Cole knelt beside her. He didn't touch her, giving her space, but his presence alone felt like a shield. "It's okay," he said softly. "You're safe here." Elena wiped her tears with trembling hands. "I didn't want him to find me," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I left because I couldn't stay there anymore." "You don't have to explain anything," Cole replied gently. "Not unless you want to." For a long moment, she stayed quiet. The wind rustled the leaves around them, and the horses in the distance grazed peacefully, unaware of the storm in Elena's heart. Finally, she took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I was always scared there. I felt trapped. I felt small. I felt like nothing I did was right. I just wanted peace. I just wanted space to breathe." Cole listened without interrupting. His eyes were warm, patient, and steady, like someone who understood what it meant to carry quiet pain. "I'm sorry you went through that," he said softly. "No one deserves to feel that way." Elena lowered her gaze. "I'm sorry for causing trouble here." "You didn't cause trouble," Cole said gently but firmly. "Someone showing up and scaring you doesn't make it your fault." His words made her eyes fill with tears again, not from sadness but from relief. She wasn't used to people standing up for her. She wasn't used to kindness that asked for nothing in return. Later, Martha came out and took Elena inside, giving her warm tea and letting her rest. Lily brought her a soft blanket, and even the family dog lay at her feet as if sensing she needed comfort. Elena felt overwhelmed by how this family treated her, a stranger, as if she were someone who mattered. By evening, Cole knocked gently on her door. She nodded, giving him permission to enter. He stepped inside quietly. "I wanted to check if you're all right." Elena looked down at her hands. "I'm better, just frightened." "I didn't expect anyone from my old life to follow me." "You don't have to face any of that alone anymore," Cole said. "If someone shows up again, we'll handle it. You're safe here." Elena looked into his eyes, and in that moment, the fear inside her slowly loosened. She didn't know how to thank him. Words felt too small for what he had done, but she tried. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Please don't leave me broken." The words slipped out before she could stop them. Soft, honest, full of the pain she had kept hidden for years. She immediately covered her face, embarrassed by her own vulnerability. But Cole didn't flinch. His expression softened even more. He stepped a little closer, but still kept a respectful distance. "I'm not going anywhere," he said gently. "You're stronger than you think. You just need someone to remind you of that sometimes." Elena lowered her hands slowly. She saw only sincerity in his eyes. For the first time in a long, long while, she believed someone's words. After Cole left, she sat quietly on her bed, feeling the weight of the day settle inside her. But instead of fear, she felt something different, something warm. The ranch was no longer just a place to escape to. It was becoming a place to heal. The next morning, the air felt different on the ranch. It carried a soft coolness, like the sky itself was trying to calm everything inside Elena. She woke earlier than usual, unable to sleep after yesterday's frightening moment. She sat by the window watching the field slowly brighten with the rising sun. The peaceful view helped her breathe a little easier. When she stepped outside, the ranch was already alive. Birds sang from the trees, chickens moved around the yard, and the sound of horses shifting in their stalls echoed gently. Cole was near the barn, fixing a wooden gate that had loosened over time. He noticed her immediately and lifted his hand in a small wave. "Morning," he said kindly, his voice steady as always. "Morning," she replied softly. He studied her face for a moment as if checking whether she had slept or if she was still shaken. "How are you feeling today?" "A little better," Elena answered. "Still nervous, but better." "That's good," Cole said with a small nod. "You don't have to rush anything, one step at a time." She appreciated that he never pushed her to pretend to be strong. He allowed her weakness without making her feel weak. It was something she had never experienced before. To distract her mind, Elena joined Lily in the garden. They planted new seeds and watered the flowers. Lily talked cheerfully about school, animals, and the silly things her friends did. The simple conversation helped Elena feel normal again. She even laughed softly at one of Lily's stories, surprising herself. But Cole kept a careful watch from a distance, not hovering, but ready if she needed reassurance. His quiet presence was enough to make her feel safe. Later, after breakfast, Martha asked Elena to help with preparing lunch. They peeled vegetables together, side by side in the warm kitchen. Martha moved calmly, humming softly as she worked. She wasn't the type to ask many questions, but her gentle nature made Elena feel comfortable enough to talk. "You've been working very hard," Martha said kindly. "You're fitting in well," Elena nodded. "I'm trying. I like helping here." Martha smiled warmly. "You're doing more than helping. You're becoming part of this place." Those words made Elena's heart tremble slightly. Part of this place. She had never belonged anywhere before, not truly. The idea felt almost unreal. Around noon, Cole came into the kitchen, brushing dust from his hands. "We need help moving some hay bales," he told Elena, "only if you're up for it." Elena agreed, eager to keep her mind busy. They walked together toward the barn. The air was warm, and the smell of fresh hay filled the space. Cole explained what they needed to do, showing her how to lift properly so she wouldn't hurt her back. His instructions were patient, his voice steady. At first, she struggled with the weight. Her hands slipped, and the bale fell back onto the ground. She stepped away, embarrassed. "I can't do it," she murmured. "Yes, you can," Cole said calmly. "Just try again. I'll guide you." She nodded, gathering her courage. This time, Cole stood beside her, his hands showing where to grip. With his guidance, she lifted the bale successfully and carried it to the corner of the barn. When she placed it down, her chest filled with pride she had never felt before. "See?" Cole said with a smile. Told you. Elena smiled shyly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. It feels good. Doing real work. You're stronger than you think, he replied. She looked at him then, really looked at him. The dust on his shirt, the warmth in his eyes, the kindness in his expression. A feeling grew inside her, gentle and unexpected. She quickly looked away, not ready to understand what that feeling meant. After the work in the barn, they took a break outside. They sat on the fence, overlooking the horses grazing peacefully. A soft breeze brushed across their faces. "Do you ever get tired of this place?" Elena asked after a long moment of quiet. Cole shook his head. "Not really. It's home. It's simple, but it's honest. And out here, you can breathe." Elena nodded slowly. "I like the quiet. I didn't know life could feel like this." Cole turned his head slightly toward her. "You deserve peace, Elena. Everyone does." She swallowed hard, emotion rising in her chest. "I'm still scared," she whispered, "that someone from my past might show up again." "If they do," Cole said gently, "you won't face it alone." She looked at him, her eyes shining with unspoken gratitude. She didn't know what she had done to deserve this kindness, but she felt it deeply. The day continued quietly. Elena helped with the horses, and Cole showed her how to clean their hooves gently. The horses seemed to trust her more each day. One of them, the same curious one from her first day, nudged her shoulder affectionately. Cole laughed softly. "He likes you," he said. Elena smiled, gently patting the horse's neck. "I like him too." Evening approached, casting soft shadows across the ranch. After finishing their chores, Elena and Cole walked toward the porch. The sky glowed with pink and orange, and the ranch seemed wrapped in peaceful silence. As they reached the porch, Elena paused. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for today, for yesterday, for everything." Cole turned to her, his eyes warm. "You don't have to thank me. Anyone would have helped." "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "Not everyone would. Not like you." He looked at her for a long moment, something gentle but serious in his expression. "You're safe here, Elena. That's what matters." She felt tears prick her eyes, but she held them back. She didn't want to cry again, not from pain, but from the overwhelming kindness she had been shown. That night, she could not sleep. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the past and the future. She thought about the day the stranger appeared at the gate, about Cole stepping in front of her to protect her, about the calm strength he carried in his rough hands. She wondered why her heart beat faster around him, why her chest felt warm when he spoke to her gently, why her fears quieted when he stood near. She tried to push the thoughts away, but they returned again and again. She finally slipped out of bed and walked quietly to the porch. The night was cool. Stars scattered across the sky like soft white sparks. She wrapped her arms around herself as she stepped onto the wooden boards. Cole was there, sitting on the porch steps, elbows on his knees, hat resting beside him. He looked up when he heard her. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked softly. Elena shook her head and sat down beside him, leaving enough space to be respectful but close enough to feel comforted. "Too many thoughts." He nodded. "Sometimes the quiet brings out the noise inside us." They sat in silence, listening to the crickets and the gentle rustle of leaves. It felt peaceful, almost like the night itself was wrapping them in a soft blanket. After a few minutes, Elena spoke quietly. "Do you ever feel like your past is still chasing you, even when you finally run away from it?" Cole thought for a moment. "I think everyone has something from the past that tries to follow them," he said. "But you're not running anymore, Elena. You're building something new." She looked down at her hands. "What if I'm too broken to build anything new?" "You're not broken," Cole said firmly, but gently. "You're healing." There's a difference. His words touched the deepest part of her heart. She blinked, trying to hold back tears, but one slipped down her cheek anyway. Cole noticed, but didn't reach out, respecting her space. Still, his voice softened even more. You don't have to be strong all the time. Elena turned her head, looking at him in the moonlight. Then what should I be? Just yourself, he answered. That's enough. They sat there for a long time, not talking, just breathing in the quiet night. Elena felt something warm grow inside her again, hope, trust, maybe something more, something she wasn't ready to name yet. But she knew one thing for certain. She didn't feel alone anymore. Elena woke up before sunrise on the final morning of a long and emotional journey. The sky outside her window carried soft shades of pink and orange, like the world was slowly opening its eyes. She stood quietly near the small wooden window of the ranch house, feeling the cool morning air brush against her skin. Everything felt calm, peaceful, and safe. These were feelings she once believed she would never experience in her life. She stepped outside onto the open porch, where the land stretched far beyond what her eyes could see. The early light rested over the fields, making the dew sparkle on the grass. It felt like the earth was telling her that she had survived everything she once feared. The breeze was gentle, carrying the smell of hay and early morning air. For the first time in years, she felt like she belonged somewhere. Cole walked out from the barn, wiping dust from his hands. He didn't know she was standing on the porch until he looked up and saw her. He gave her a small smile, the kind of smile that said he understood her without her using a single word. Cole had always been this way. Quiet, strong, present. Someone who stayed even when silence held more weight than words. You're up early, he said, walking closer. I wanted to see the sunrise, Elena replied softly. Cole nodded like he understood the meaning behind her words. Seeing the sunrise wasn't just about watching the sky change colors. It meant the start of a new day, a new life, a story that finally belonged to her. She watched him for a moment as he leaned against the porch railing. His hands were rough as always, hands shaped by work, by living a life full of effort, by helping without speaking too much. She once feared roughness because she thought it always came with anger. But Cole showed her that rough hands could also be steady and gentle, symbols of trust instead of fear. His hands had helped her lift heavy things, steady herself when she felt weak, and sometimes simply reminded her that she was not alone. She took a slow breath as memories from the past few months crossed her mind. Moving to the ranch, learning new tasks. Feeling scared again when someone from her old life returned. Breaking down in fear and asking Cole not to leave her broken, and then slowly finding her courage, her voice, her strength. It had not been easy, and there were days when she felt she would fall back into old fears. But every time she doubted herself, she found something new inside her, a strength she didn't know she had. Elena turned back toward the fields, watching the horses graze quietly. She had once been afraid to be near them, but now she walked among them peacefully. One of the horses, Starling, lifted her head and watched Elena with gentle eyes. Elena smiled. Even animals here seemed to understand her heart better than most humans from her past ever did. Are you feeling better today? Cole asked, his voice soft but steady. Elena nodded. More than better. I feel free. It was a strong word, one she had never truly used before. Cole didn't respond immediately. Instead, he looked at her with the quiet pride he often showed when she overcame something difficult. He never took credit for her progress. He always said she did the work herself, and in truth, he was right. Elena had faced things she once thought she couldn't survive. She stepped down from the porch and walked into the soft grass. Cole followed her, keeping a comfortable distance the way he always did. close enough to be there, far enough to let her breathe. The sun was almost above the horizon now, lighting up the ranch in gold. "When I first came here," Elena began, "I didn't think I would stay longer than a week." "I remember," Cole replied. "I thought I would leave and run again. I was tired of running, but I didn't know how to stop." Her voice didn't shake anymore. She spoke with quiet strength. "You stopped," Cole said simply. "That's what matters." Elena smiled. Cole never turned her pain into something dramatic. He didn't try to give deep emotional speeches. He gave honesty. And honesty was something she had needed more than anything else. They walked slowly toward the old wooden fence that looked out over the back field. It had become her favorite spot since the day she arrived. She leaned on the fence, feeling the smooth wood under her palms. "You know," she said softly, "I used to think healing meant forgetting everything that hurt me." "And now?" Cole asked. "Now I think healing means remembering it, but not letting it control me anymore." Cole nodded. "That sounds right." Elena looked at him. "Thank you." "For what?" he asked. "For staying when I asked you not to leave me broken." Cole looked down for a moment, brushing dust off his hand. "I stayed because you deserved someone who stayed. But the part where you healed, that was all you." Elena felt warmth spread inside her chest. She used to depend on others for strength, but now she knew she could hold herself upright. Cole had been a guide, not a crutch. A steady hand, not a controlling one. Later that morning, the ranch slowly came alive. Workers arrived. Horses were led out for exercise. The sound of the wind mixed with the sound of footsteps on gravel. Elena helped with the morning feed, moving with confidence. Her movements were no longer careful or unsure. She knew her place here. She knew her purpose. People greeted her with warm smiles and friendly nods. These were people who saw her grow. They never asked too many questions, never judged her silence, never made her feel small. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was part of a community. After finishing her chores, she walked back toward the small cabin she stayed in. She paused near the porch again, placing her hand on the wooden pillar. She remembered the first night she stood here, afraid and unsure. She remembered how Cole had left a lantern outside her door so she wouldn't feel alone in the dark. Such a simple action, yet it had reminded her that she mattered. She sat down on the porch steps and looked out again at the open land. Life still held challenges. She knew that. Healing wasn't a straight path, but she no longer felt like someone who was running from shadows. She felt like someone who was finally living her own story. Cole walked up the steps and stood beside her. "You planning to stay here long?" he asked lightly. Elena looked at him with a quiet smile. "I'm planning to stay for good." Cole's eyes softened. "Then I'm glad." There was no dramatic moment, no big speech, no overwhelming emotion, just two people sitting side by side, sharing the same peaceful morning. And sometimes, that was enough. Elena leaned slightly back, resting her hands behind her. "It's strange," she said. "I used to think I needed someone to save me." "And now?" Cole asked. "Now I know I needed someone to stand with me, while I saved myself." Cole didn't reply with words. His gentle silence was all the answer she needed. The sunrise was now bright and warm, filling the world with light. Elena felt whole. Not perfect, not unscarred, but whole. She stood up and walked to the edge of the porch. The land spread before her like a new chapter waiting to be written. The wind touched her face gently, almost like it was welcoming her into her own future. She whispered, not out of fear this time, but out of gratitude, "I'm not broken anymore." And she wasn't. She was finally home.